Is Janet from another planet? 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 Is Janet from another planet?
Today's digital landscape with the spread of false information can lead to dangerous outcomes. It's crucial for everyone to think critically and verify sources and reflect on the impact of what they share. Let's promote responsible communication to ensure that truth prevails and actions remain rooted in reality.
The opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
The following program is rated TV MA LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Cosmic Chat. And the reason I wanted to talk about this stuff tonight was because of all the stuff that's been released from the UFO files because of Trump signing the, I guess it's called executive order to, take all of the stuff out of the vaults or whatever and start releasing it to the public. And I thought it would be fun to invite Chris because he's kind of a skeptic when it comes to, all the UFO stuff. So I thought we'd play a couple videos of different things, the stuff that's been, opened up for the public and get both of our points of view on it. As you know, I'm an alien, so I do believe in aliens. And I do believe that they're on this earth and have visited this earth many times. So, and my dad was Air Force, so he also believed in it. But thank you for joining me tonight, Chris. How are you?
Oh, I'm overheated, but I think everybody else is overheated.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of messages saying everyone's got swamp ass right now.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So yeah, it's been hot, but you've been just doing stuff around your house, trying to get things done in your yard, things like that.
Hurricane Helene took my shop down, a 2-car garage and a 30 by 40 shop. Mm-hmm. And I've just been so busy and never got time to do it. And I sort of put it back together, but then another storm came. And so this time I tore it down and started over. And that's what I've been doing. Totally.
Good. That sounds good. I mean, trying to stay busy even when it's hot, as long as you take frequent breaks and drink lots of fluids. Mm-hmm. And what's really scary is all the people I talked to that said they're, having a lot of coffees and stuff. And I'm like, how can you drink hot drinks, in this kind of heat? But I guess once you're a coffee person, you have to keep drinking. So I don't really drink a lot of coffee. I drink like a half a cup of coffee a day, and that's about it. So
Yeah, I'm not an everyday coffee drinker, but for sure, if it's wintertime, I drink hot coffee. And if it's summertime, I drink iced coffee.
I don't
I
really
never
like
mix them up.
coffee that much. I never have. So guess
Some of them are really good. I
now
like
I've
a caramel macchiato, a cold caramel macchiato, or a mocha frappuccino cold. And they have the stuff now, you can make it at home. So I'm a total cheap ass. I do everything as cheap as I can do it.
so do I. I try to save every dime I can. But I do like, I've had a couple of like coffee flavored toffee and coffee flavored yogurt and ice creams. And they were really good. So
Yeah,
maybe
I
I
love
should try
coffee ice
iced
cream.
coffee. I mean, I was a kid the first time I tried it, and I just haven't tried it since. So maybe I should try it just to see. Maybe as an adult, I might even like it. I don't know, but let
Well,
me.
in the summertime, you will,
Well,
because
you
it's
know,
like a cold,
caffeine
refreshing
would be
drink, and it
helpful.
picks you up.
You know, because I didn't
Yeah.
think about it, but the caffeine would be helpful, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's cold and refreshing, and it gives you a boost. And so, yeah, as you get older, that's becomes a benefit in life.
Well, hopefully I'll try one. I'll have to let you know as soon as I try one. Maybe tomorrow or maybe Saturday. I want to sleep in a little bit. But the first thing I wanted to bring up was this. It came on and I watched it a while back, like maybe a little over a week ago. But I only do this show like maybe once a month. So some of this is a little bit, out of date because it's not like exclusive today type stuff. But it's still new to a lot of people because of the whole thing about everything being opened up for the public. So but I like this guy. I think he's pretty good. And Burchant was saying that President Trump is facing resistance from the deep state on the UFO files, which may reveal a cover-up of 0 point energy. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But I'm going to play this really quick for you. So here we go.
Tell me all about the UFOs and the aliens.
Well, the problem we have right now is the deep state's fighting the president on release, and he kept his word. And I suspect some of our not so friendly comrades in some of our alphabet agencies are slow walking a lot of the information. It's about power, it's about control, and that's kind of what runs Washington.
All right. What do you think is in these files, and why do you think they're not trying to release any of them? Like they're partial release.
Part of it's going to be that they're going to have to admit that they've been lying to us all these years, and there could be some cover up of zero energy. There could be some other things. I don't think we're ever going to get everything they have. But that's kind of the nature of the game. But Trump's kept his word so far to me, so that was a personal word he had with me. So I'm proud of that.
So there's someone that does think that Trump is going to keep his word and that he's slowly signing whatever he has to try to get the stuff out. Now I know for a fact that some of the things that one of our, I think it was Tulsi Gabbard, I think it was her, that she was trying to release it and she was bringing stuff out when a bunch of people went to her office and took it back. So she's having to fight, I think it was the CIA for a bunch of documents that they came and took. And so, it's like the president is president. He should have final say about this, that, and the other, right? But he's got his own people under him in the different agencies that are fighting each other of no, yes, that kind of stuff. So what do you know about the inner agencies arguing and fighting with each other whenever they try to release anything? So how are we going to know for sure if you don't have one side or the other that you trust, like me trusting Tim to that what he's trying to tell us is the truth, and that they're trying to get it out, but certain people are fighting to keep it hidden. So how do you pick who you want to trust, or can you trust any of them, Chris?
Well, I mean, as we were talking about in the green room before the show came on, this is not just with the UFOs that they're doing it. I'm not going to get into any detail about what we were talking about, but it's the same issue, Janet, right? You got people in the deep state that say, oh, well, this didn't happen at this time. And then you have people who have grew up in the deep state and surrounded by deep state like me that try to say, hey, now this is important. The people need to know this. That the only reason you would classify this would be to harm people, right? Well, so that battle goes on throughout. That's why they say there's white hats and black hats. The black hats are the evildoers and that hide stuff. But I wrote a paper, I don't know, maybe about 5-8 months ago, somewhere in there, about the dams on the Colorado River, and explained to them, y'all could use those floating gravity power generators that they have now in those dams. It would take less water. We wouldn't have to have more rain or snow melt or anything, and the lake would fill back up, and it would produce more power. But when I wrote that, I didn't mention that the technology around that is still classified, right? But that's technology that comes from the development they do at Area 51 and things, because think about science fiction, right? 1950s, everybody was watching movies about going to the stars and going to the moon and all that. Well, eventually we did. And the people who have these interests in life love to research stuff. I mean, up in Fresno at the Collider Lab or over in CERN, we got stuff going on that would shock most people, right?
Yeah.
Some of it is not given people to protect them. Some of it, they don't want to give it to them because it puts a vulnerability militarily in us if we reveal that we have the ability to do certain things. I mean,
Well, yeah.
China's been firing supersonic rockets. They go 8,000 miles an hour. That means they could basically hit New York in 1 hour. We don't have anything that'll shoot that down. So that's what we're all countering each other for those things.
Well, isn't that what was it? Star Wars was supposed to be like lasers on satellites and stuff to protect us from stuff that was incoming. Isn't that what they talked about last time he was president?
No, Reagan started that program
With lasers.
Yeah, but lasers, satellite lasers. Yeah, Reagan started that.
So
That's what I mean to tell you.
I know,
Some of it is hidden because it's classified for military reasons.
Yeah, but if it came out during Reagan, so now we're saying that the Chinese have rockets that can come all the way to the United States without our defenses that Reagan even put up.
Yeah, no, it's 8,000 miles an hour. That's pretty fast. It's kind of hard to bring something like that down.
Okay, well, I want to tell Omen Screaming Raven that this is my true form. That's why I'm Janet from another planet. And tonight,
I love that outfit.
Try to do it once a month where people can see, my true form because I'm from Venus and, this is what I look like normally. And I like being myself once in a while. So I just want to let you know that. Thank you, though. I do feel fine tonight, even though I worked in my yard most of the day for the last couple of days because I have a huge yard. It's 4.5 acres, and it takes a lot of work to weed eat and mow and trim limbs and do all that good stuff. So I just wanted to answer him on that. But yeah, the thing is that I don't know, when I listened to Tim Burchett speak and lots of his interviews, because sometimes he'll leave with his phone on and be griping, complaining about how many people have no balls, they won't do their jobs, and why are they even there if they don't want to work for the people, all this different stuff. And honestly, I maybe I'm gullible, but I believe him when he says most of the things he talks about. So if he's telling me that there are things being released, he's not saying, oh, there's little green men running around. He's saying like technology that we have that's being released about certain things that, like 0 point energy, things like that. I can understand why the government wouldn't want to release that, because who wants to help the government do different things if you are a company that makes power? Right now, if the government's going to give power out to everyone to where they can start doing it for themselves or anything like that, then those companies are going to not fund the government. So I can see why a lot of people in government would not want any of this kind of stuff to come out, because then they would have no, lobbyists or whatever you want to call it. So,
Well, keep in mind, Nikola Tesla, his dream was for everyone to have free power, and he invented a system that would do it. And then what was that word we used before the show started on that other matter? Greed, right? Thomas Edison. And I mean, if you read the books and all the personal comments and everything that were made by all those people during that time, they shafted Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
Right. For having a dream of giving everybody free power. So 0 point power, we already got it. If you have a stream on your property, you can build a dam, and generate your own power. They have power generators now that you can make out of old car alternators.
Well, that's
and you can generate power
that you have in California, is that they don't want you to collect your rainwater. They don't want you to have your own well. They don't want you to have any means to doing any of those things, because they think they know better than anyone else. But look what happened with all the fires and stuff, because they didn't have enough water, because they don't take care of their forests. They don't take care of their rivers or their lakes. They don't know how to take water from the ocean and take the salt out of it.
They got a desalination plant now.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is the way they run it, the way they run the state, they act like they can't do any of those things because they don't know how to do anything.
Greed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They keep thinking, if they say, okay, we need this much more money, or we can't do this. We need this much more money, or we can't do that. And now we're finding out that one county in California is billions of dollars in debt with Medicare fraud, stuff like that. That's where the money's going. It's not going to the work on the forest. It's not going on working on making their reservoirs better or any of that stuff. You got fire hydrants in towns that have no water going to them. It's I don't know how people are even getting insurance on their homes when you can't even say, hey, if there's a fire on your street, am I going to even be able to put the fire out? It's ridiculous. But until the people wake up and start demanding to be treated fairly and stop voting for people that rip them off year after year after year after year, because it makes them feel good because they voted for something with a D next to it, then, that's on them. And when all their houses burn down and they can't rebuild after earthquakes or whatever it is that happens, then maybe somebody will learn from it. But as of today, I just don't see enough people fighting for their state.
Well, I can tell you about, here's one UFO intangible that I don't know about people like not getting. Right? They're filming these things and they're calling them orbs, but the relativity of distance is kind of a weird thing. I don't have a better way to put it than like in the Bible when Jesus says, why do you judge that person for having a mote in their eye when you got a beam in your own? But the gist of that is, if you hold your index finger, point your index finger and extend your arm, it's tiny. If you put it up to your eye, it's huge. It's the same thing, but it's just huge. So if you have an 8,000 mile-an-hour rockets flying through the air that they're testing, or you have a drone that can go 468 kilometers an hour. They can outrun Formula One cars, for Christ's sake, right?
Yeah.
468 kilometers, that's fast. If one of those is only flying at 300 or 400 feet, yeah, it looks like a UFO in outer space. You can't hear them. They're silent. They're quiet. You know, I don't, if you look at the physics that we are all bound by, we're all atoms, you know, we're all light, we're just made up of the same thing the universe is. It is impossible. If we went to visit the closest Alpha Centauri, if we go visit Alpha Centauri, with the current technology we have, it would take 4 million years to get there. Humans haven't even existed that long on Earth yet. How are they going to exist that long in a little capsule flying through space? It ain't happening.
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's why not release it and let the people make decisions for themselves? But this whole thing, when this came out, this one picture of Trump that Trump posted himself, I put it on my YouTube channel under my posts, and I had people saying, I can't believe that you would put this picture up there, and do you really believe that, and this kind of stuff. I was like, it's a troll. He's the king of trolling. Okay.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was funny. It was supposed to be funny, but when you have people with a stick up their ass, no matter what you say, they just think you're trying to be serious about everything. Like, yeah, Trump's walking around at the airport with an alien next to him. I mean, come on. It's just ridiculous how anal some of these people can be. I mean, I'm not saying I believe in little green men, even though I'm Janet from another planet type thing. The thing is, this is fun. Okay. I do this because I enjoy it. It's fun. It's cosplay. And that means that grown-ups can pretend like they're kids once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, if there are UFOs, I wish they'd get me and take me somewhere. I swear, man.
Well, it's not just that. If they do have technology that, because someone crashed on our planet or whatever we find out, because I haven't really, gotten to see anything yet. I've seen videos of something, but I don't know what it is. Like the video I sent you from my driveway. I didn't know what it was, and I wasn't saying, oh my God, I was visited by little green men. I didn't do any of that. I just said it was weird what happened and how it happened. And I sent you videos and I posted them on my channel. And the thing is, I just want truth, but you can't get truth if you have people closing all the doors and locking them so that you can't see. But I wanted to share.
Man, that was one of the best pictures I saw of the Venus-Saturn conjunction that happened during that week, right?
Yes, yeah, I didn't even realize that was even happening because I was so busy, I hadn't paid that much attention to it, and I don't get alerts on my phone for all the different things like that. And plus, I live in the boonies, so it's not something that you just think about. And plus, I got a perfect yard because my yard's huge for fireworks or anything because it's total darkness all around. There's no city lights or anything.
Yeah.
So I can see the Milky Way, I can see the Big Dipper, I can see everything from my sky. You lay a blanket out there, you're going to get eat up by mosquitoes and maybe get a tick or two, but you can see a beautiful sky. I can tell you that. But I'm going to play this really quick because I thought this was pretty interesting because they're talking about Trump is delivering on his UFO files promise. So that's good. People asked for these things and Trump is trying to do it. Even if he does it in this way right here and posts it on his Truth Social, it's fine. He's the president of the United States. The fact that he still has he's still funny and he still likes to joke around with the people of the United States for fun stuff like this, I think that shows that he's down to earth and he's willing to have a good laugh, once
I love Trump. I do. So, I wish he'd declassify a lot of shit, frankly.
Me too. And I think that we're going to see a lot more stuff coming out than just the little bit that we have. But what's sad is every time he does anything that he's been asked to by the people, he has to go to the Supreme Court. It's like it's totally stupid, but That's the way it is. But here, let me play this. I think it's pretty interesting. So here we go.
The photo of him walking with an alien, it's so crazy. There it is right there. What do you think he's signaling by putting this out? And what do you expect is going to come with the next release of UFO documents?
Well, the president has a good sense of humor. I think he's having a little fun with this. But at the same time, again, like with other issues, he's delivering on his promise. And that is to release information regarding UFOs or UAP, the way we talk about them now. And I think there's going to be another drop here very soon. There are people in the administration that are very much engaged in this topic for national security reasons, by the way, not just idle curiosity. And I think this is a way of President Trump communicating with the American people, maybe a little bit in jest. But he is definitely delivering on a promise, and he is releasing information.
The photo of him walking with an alien.
I just wanted to share that because I just think it's funny that we have a president that is willing, to play around with the American people. I mean, in a fun way, you know what I mean? It wasn't like this is after being kicked off of Twitter, things like that. This is a person that's been shunned by so many people from one side and a few, in the middle or whatever, because they can't stand him. They can't stand this person for whatever reason. And I try to tell people, I wasn't for Trump at first. I wanted Ben Carson. I was Ben Carson to everybody. I just loved him. I think he's adorable. Him and his wife, they're just wonderful people. I've watched so many interviews with him. I still adore him. And he's such a wonderful man. And he's done so many good things for so many people in his lifetime. But he just didn't have that part, the meanness that we needed.
Yeah, he's too nice.
Yeah, he is so nice. And the people that Trump has had to deal with since, all the lawfare and the whole thing about the PP dossier and just all this trash, to have seen them do that to Ben Carson would have just ripped my heart out. What they did to Clarence Thomas, okay, the one decent SCOTUS that we have, you know what I mean? It just breaks my heart. Some of the things, the horrible things they do to some of these people that they've given their whole life basically to serve their country in whatever their opportunity was. For, like, he's a judge, and then you have like Giuliani, a mayor. Everyone adored him when he was mayor of New York. And then after the whole thing with him siding with Trump about, the whole voting thing, everybody just chucked him under the bus and ran over him over and over again. It's disgusting how people they just turn on a dime and they just hate you. I mean, I get death threats. I get hate. I get tons of people that say horrible things to me. And, it's sad that we have so much hate in the world simply because we have a different opinion. You know what I mean? That's what we really need to work on as a country, because we're about to have our 250th anniversary on Saturday. And for the youngest country in the world, we are the most powerful. Why? Because of this freedom. We're free to say what we want. We're free to own a weapon to protect our families and ourselves. We're free to buy a home. We're free to get a job, go to school, get married to whoever we fall in love with, have a cat and a dog. We have so much freedom that so many other countries don't have. And they hate us for it. All the other countries hate us, are jealous of us. And when people do supposedly come here, they don't even want to become America. They just want to bring their little bit of shithole with them and try to make America a shithole. And people like us, the 80 million that voted for Trump, are trying to get rid of that. Sorry, I got a dry spot in my throat. But it just breaks my heart to see it.
You know what stuck out to me the absolute most in that picture? And it's the guy's shackled. The alien is wearing shackles on his hands and his feet. Mm-hmm. Now, if there's any message in there from Trump about aliens,
To me,
I got them locked up. Don't sweat it, right? And so, yeah, with all the, let's talk about what we got going on right now. There's MK Ultra and Anna Paulina Luna today, I believe, said to a three-letter agency person, well, I guess y'all just think the American people are too stupid to tell, right? We got the Food and Drug Administration breaking down. We got the COVID side effects things going on. We got this UAP thing going on. What of it matters? You know, to somebody, every bit of that stuff matters. Will anything happen to change any of it? Until I see a UFO come and land in my yard and they ask me for dinner in Venus, right? And said, we're going to pick up Janet before we leave. Yeah, I'm getting on. I'm going to get on it. I'm like, yeah, because I want to be able to know all that stuff is real. But I haven't seen it. I've seen a lot of shit. I took care of a dude one time as a nurse, and I had to debride wounds on him, and I could see the sunrise through him. When I was working on his back, I could see the sun through his stomach, right? Coming up. I ran into that guy at a Coke machine at the pharmacy one day. I had another dude that I worked on that didn't have a scratch on him, nothing wrong, and the guy was a vegetable because he got thrown out of a Jeep jumping sand dunes down at Corpus Christi in Texas, right? I've seen things that will make you step back and go, that can't be real, but it is real. You know, the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Period.
That's why I'm excited about this, because I've heard stories my whole life about things that flew faster than planes, that were able to go straight up and straight down and sideways and stuff in the air, things like that. Some people, even people have said they've seen something come up out of the water while they're out in the middle of the ocean on a ship, and fly off. So I'm just saying, and these are people, wasn't on the news. It was just somebody that said, we saw this, and a bunch of us got pictures, and, you know, we've told people and stuff, but nobody believes us. They think we're nuts. So that's one reason why I wanted to do this. I'm interested in it. But here's one of the things that you were just talking about. It says a UFO video was released today by the White House on the orders of President Trump. And this is one of them right here. This is something I thought was in it. There's no sound or anything. It's just something flying over the ocean. And a pilot, I think, was the one taking the, it's from Interstellar UAP. And I have a couple of videos from them. It's interesting. And I just wanted you to see it. So here we go. Sure. Whoops, gotta do it over again. And see, they're trying to track it. But you can see whatever it is coming from it. You know, like, we don't know if it's what kind of energy that is. Like bursts of stuff to keep it from going down, to keep it going straight. I mean, I don't know. Bursts of energy or some form.
I mean, I'm questioning that video. I'm looking at it. Okay. That is not the ocean. That's a smaller body of water. You can tell by the way that the waves are breaking on it. And
I don't know where it is. I just was assuming it was the ocean because it looks like the ocean. I've seen lots of planes flying over water like that. And to me, that it looks like it could be the ocean. So I don't know. But I'm just going to keep playing it because I just think it's interesting. The thing is, it's really hard to track this kind of stuff. And they had to have been in a plane or a jet, you know, that's flying, being able to track it. And it seems like it's going pretty fast.
yeah, I don't know. The black ring around the little white light and the little flashes going off.
Well, I think that is because of the the camera, the whatever it is. I've had different people tell me that it's you put this thing on there and it locks into it or something, and that different colors and different I don't know, I'm not smart when it comes to infrared and different stuff like that, give off different heat signatures, just stuff like that. So it will look different under different types of filters that you might use to find out what kind of energy it's being used from it, things like that. But the thing is, look how fast it's going. It's going fast. I mean, it's going faster than, to me, a regular plane. It's going pretty fast. But it's interesting. What is it? And how would we ever figure out what it is?
It's a well-made video. That's what it is.
Well, I don't know. I have no way to prove that or disprove it, because I don't have the means to do it. But it's interesting. The good thing is, I can tell you right now, every time anyone has ever made something public, people have figured it out.
Yeah, that's what people do.
Why do you think that Trump is releasing this stuff? That's why I think he's releasing it. Just like he said, I'm going to release the Epstein files, and he did, because people are going to go there, research it, break it down, look at everything, and figure it out.
That's exactly right.
Okay, and I feel the exact same thing about these UFO files, and I've been saying that for years, that if they would put them out in public, people will figure it out. Just like the Bigfoot. Remember the Bigfoot videos that they put out, and Loch Ness and all that? The people are the ones that broke that, not scientists. Now, the whole thing with the Shroud of Turin, and supposedly they proved it. They have one side that says they proved that it's this actual shroud that was on Jesus Christ, and then others will say, no, it isn't. It's not old enough, or that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying, you're always going to have skeptics in anything you do, no matter what it is. I don't care if it's just your little church down the street. It's going to have skeptics that if this person passed out and they said they had a vision or whatever, some people are going to believe them. The other people are going to say, no, they don't. So you're always going to have two sides to every story. That's humanity. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter how much evidence you have. There are going to still be people that won't believe it.
Yeah, that's true. Time is the truth's best friend.
Well, yeah. And the sad truth is, a lot of people are not going to be around when the truth is finally opened up, and you get to see the actual what happened, who did it, who was behind it, and all those different things. But that's why it's so important to have a really good group of people or countries or whatever, all making details of what's happening around the world, not just in their own country, but you should have good records in your own history. And that's why I'm so against tearing down statues, burning books, all those things is wrong, because there was a movie that I really loved. It was the Book of Eli. Remember that movie? Did you see it?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. Remember where he was going? The trip he was on his way was because all the books and everything were gone. Everything was gone. And they were trying to make another library with all these books. And when he brought the Bible, remember, it was a Braille Bible, and he was blind, and he was going to help him recite the whole Bible because he had it by memory. So the thing is, there was a Quran and there was a Torah. They had all these books there. And it's sad when you think that people are willing to go in and just tear stuff up, paintings, scrolls, all this stuff, which is actual historical documents from our people, the human race, from way before any of us were even on the earth. And the same thing when it comes to fossils that people find, people want to damage them because their religion says there can't be lizards that were on the planet before humans. You know, the earth isn't that old, and we have a flat earth or whatever. Everyone has different points of view. And it's sad when some people will try to tear away something that another group has done to prove that that's their history, that type of thing. And I just think it's horrible. That's why I believe that everyone should be able to have historical documents. That's why I love time capsules. I think that was a great tradition that many, many years ago that lots of groups would make a time capsule and then go back in 20 years and dig it up, you know, and things like that. I think that that type of stuff is something that it's a lost, we're losing it more and more as our history, because it's the history of now is how people want to live. All that matters is what's happening right now. The past is the past. Let the past be the past. What we learn from our past, you know, all the stuff about what happened with the Jews, right? And now they called me a Nazi and that person a Nazi. Everyone's a Nazi. So now a kid growing up thinks that I'm a Nazi. They don't understand what real Nazis did. See? And they don't want to teach it in schools because that's stupid. There's no reason for them to know about it. They need to know about this instead. This is more important. See, instead of all of our history, those things. And that's what's sad to me, is that we are losing that simply because one person or a small group of people don't want anyone else to know about it. It's not important, but it is important. It's our history. And I think every country should have history of everything that happened to them, good and bad. We owned slaves. We did have slaves in our country. Not all of them were black. There were white slaves. So they should teach the truth of what countries people were made into slaves when they came to this country, because they were sold basically by their own countries to people that were coming to America, things like that. Put all of it in there, not just your little tidbit and put your twist on it. You make all of it historical, and we'll always know where we come from and the bad, stupid shit that we did in our past. So maybe our children, our great-great-grandchildren won't make the same stupid mistakes that we made, because we made historical documents that they can actually read and know, man, we don't want to do that again. You know, learn from your mistakes, like grandma always tried to help you do. You know, don't do that. You know what's going to happen if you do that, you know, that type of thing. But I don't know. So let me go through the chat a little bit, because before I bring up the next subject, let's see. So-called Tic-Tac UFOs are actually an updated top secret version. Yeah, that's exactly what you were saying, isn't it, Chris? Basically, the different things that the military was trying to hide, so they make it conspiracy out of it, so people will feel stupid when they talk about it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
I mean, that last little thing you went through, that one of the reasons I appreciate my friend Brian Ramel so much, and he has a YouTube channel. I think he's getting more active on it, but he's mostly on X. But he's made a holodeck that does that for us. It has every opinion in there, and then you come up with your own assessment, right? And eventually we'll find reality. You know, reality is if you and I are having this discussion, there's real, right? There's your opinion, there's my opinion, and there's what's real. And our opinions usually don't have anything to do with what's real. But what we perceive as reality is a culmination of our talking to each other. And, oh, yeah, I see that. Oh, yeah, I see that. Well, I disagree with that. And then you mesh in this, what reality actually is an agreement. That's what reality is. It's an agreement.
Well, it's interesting what you're saying, because reality is how we perceive it, right? See, a person who may be, let's say they have Down syndrome, okay? They can be sitting in the same room with you and interacting with you, building a tower or painting or coloring or crafting of some sort. And what they see, and they're visualizing what they're going to make in their mind, because we can't really see into each other's minds. All we can do is explain it the best we can to get someone else to see it and tell filmmaking, right? And a filmmaker would say, that looks exactly like what I had in my head. And you got an artist that could draw it and keep making changes until it's exactly what he wanted. So you could have the same thing with this child that has, whatever, thing that might be wrong with that person, right? But their perception might be identical to yours. So you have two people in two different areas in a room with all these, things to be able to draw or paint or whatever, and they have someone make something for them, help them draw the picture out, whatever you can see it, and said, that's it. That's what I see in my head. Just like in that movie with Richard Dreyfuss, I'm trying to remember the name of it, where he was trying to build the Devil's Tower, and all these people from around everywhere that never met were all having the same vision. So until we're able to communicate like that and prove that, hey, this person was there, that person's over there, never met, but they all have the exact same thought and they're seeing the exact same thing. And the only way to do that is to have some way of them showing exactly what it is they're seeing and having someone else draw it for them or put it together so that other people can visualize the exact same thing that's in their head. So I don't know. I don't know how we're ever going to get on that field when all of us aren't artists. Like I can craft, I can make certain things, bead art, I can sew with a sewing machine, stuff like that, but I can't paint. Someone else who can draw or paint was going to be able to make it in this form. I'd have to make it like this, and someone else would make it another way. All of us are different. Some might do it in song or poetry, or someone would write a screenplay or whatever. So we all have different ways of communicating something, but that doesn't mean that everyone's going to see it and say, wow, they're all seeing the exact same thing. You see what I mean? So it's just really hard to get your point across to someone else when you might be saying the same thing or thinking the same thing. But
That's the disease between men and women. They say the same thing, but they don't.
Well, I know, but that's because we're different. None of us are the same. We're all gonna have different thoughts and feelings, but that doesn't mean that we're not wanting the same future. We're not all looking for the same goal. And that's the problem, is communication, which it always has been, basically, just since the Tower of Babel, basically, we have trouble with communication. And because everyone wants their point of view to be seen or understood, but yet we can't get other people to understand what we're trying to explain. And that's what makes it so hard is, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I just love that movie. I've had it on my list for 3 years with Bruce, and I still haven't been able to get him to do it. So I wish I would love it. That's a great movie. But what I'm trying to say is I want all of us to be able to sit down and discuss things, but you're never going to be able to get there because there's always going to be 1, 2, 3 or more disruptors that don't want you to communicate because they don't feel like their point of view is going to be heard. So they don't want anyone else to have a point of view. See what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that we all suffer from the disease of perception. And if you're not open-minded and willing to listen and evaluate another viewpoint, you just never grow. And then you end up in these little microcosms of either anger or racism or feminism or any of these sold identities and ideologies that basically break down society. Mm-hmm. That's not healthy. And then you're caught up in your own perception.
Yeah.
And that's so, I think we all suffer from that disease, frankly.
Yeah, we all do in some form. We all do. We all need to work on it. That's why every day you should get up and do the best you can to better yourself, whether it's, working out, eating right, trying to help others, trying to learn to just listen to other people, or help other people by teaching them something that they don't know or they've always wanted to know, and you're not very good at it because you don't have the patience to help someone else. But maybe sitting down with that one person might help you learn patience? I don't know. It's what I'm saying. We all have to figure those things out ourselves. But if you never get out of your chair and try, you're never going to. But let me try this next thing. This is another post from Gunther Eagleman, and it was a Jesse Waters thing, but this is really some good stuff in some of these, and I really think it's interesting, and I wanted to see what your point of view of this was, Chris. It says they claim dozens of crashed UFOs have been recovered with 4 different alien species. So I wanted to share this one with you because we've had many discussions that weren't live about a lot of these things. So that's why I wanted to get you on record saying some stuff. Here we go.
We are not alone. The Pentagon released the UFO files a few weeks back, and we just found out over 1 billion people have visited the site. 1 billion. Got to be a record. The War Department says more files will be released soon. UFO experts and top researchers have been investigating aliens for years. Their sources say dozens of crashed UFOs have been recovered, and what they found inside, shocking.
Do people think that there's one type of non-human intelligence that's visiting the Earth, or is there many, many types?
People who have been involved in recoveries have said
there are at least 4 separate types. Mm-hmm. Now, I have not had direct access to that, but I believe the people who I talked to.
4 different types of life.
4 different types of life.
4 different species of aliens. Another scientist called them Greys, Nordics, Insectoids, and Reptilians. All of them have 2 arms and 2 legs, just like us. Experts speculate the Reptilians are scaly with long tails, like a lizard. Insectoids look like a praying mantis. The Greys look like your classic movie alien, and the Nordics look like a regular Swedish guy, but 7 feet tall. We haven't seen the evidence, but Pete Hegseth says more evidence is coming, and there are a lot of believers in Congress.
I have seen evidence in a skiff that leads me to believe there are things we cannot explain, and I have observed things that are of non-human origin and creation. That's my opinion.
Releasing the files isn't easy. They've been hidden for years, and a lot of people want to keep it that way.
The problem we have right now is the deep state's fighting the president on release, and he kept his word, and I suspect some of our not so friendly comrades and some of our alphabet agencies are slow walking a lot of information. It's about power, it's about control, and that's kind of what runs Washington.
So why is our own government fighting so hard to keep these secret? Well, 12 scientists have either gone missing or died. Now, we don't know if that's related, but people are scared to talk.
One I thought was going to do an interview, and then a couple days before sent me a message saying, after further consideration and long talks with my wife, I decided I'd be forfeiting my life if I participated in your interview. And I thought that was like very unsettling message to get, obviously, but also very specific word choice, forfeiting my life.
That's scary. See, that's the thing, is that's why I think that this has lasted at least my whole lifetime. As a daughter of a man that was in the military, Air Force for one, and he most of his work was jungle survival to train pilots. Okay, and my dad had told me many stories, and I had an experience of my own that I've talked about on a couple of alien interview shows of what I feel was an alien, the first time I've ever seen anything, a UFO wise. And, I wasn't, picked up or put in a ship and have a loss of time or anything like that. But when I told my mother, she said she believed me, that she didn't think I made it up, and that I may never find out what it was. But I felt like she listened to me, and she didn't, she tried to make me realize that I would probably never see it again, that if it really wanted me, it would have already taken me, that type of thing. So I had a good mother that tried to make me feel not, crazy or whatever. And I never did see anything else, and I've seen a couple things like the video I shared with you of something I saw in the sky and it was just something I've never seen before. And I was lucky enough to be able to hold my camera long enough to be able to film it for 4 or 5 minutes or whatever it was. But it was interesting, and I didn't freak out or think it was going to come and zap me, or I don't know. I didn't think anything scary about it at all. I don't feel scared about any of this stuff coming out, because honestly, if they wanted to have done something, they would have, if they're real, right? So why are they here? Are they here because we have so much water on our planet? We're that lucky? I don't know. But it's interesting to me, and I think everyone that is interested should be looking into it and trying to research and find out as much as they can about it, simply because it's science. That's what science does. But the only ones that I know of that seem to have a hard time with it are my most religious friends, because God said, the heavens and the earth. And I'm like, well, it doesn't specifically say there's nothing else out there. He said the heavens. That means
That's true.
But to me, when you look through a telescope, once you knew what it was, and you watch all these documentaries about space, and then you see our own solar system, the Milky Way and stuff, how can you believe that there's nothing else out there? I mean, I can't fathom that. And just because God talks about the earth doesn't mean that there isn't other planets. And if you got other suns, and you've got a living, breathing environment, which is expanding, which we know because we're learning about science, and it's stars are bursting into life just like we did. There was nothing, and then all of a sudden there was life. Okay. So, and it's constantly changing, just like our earth constantly rebuilds itself. The crust moves, and one crust is forced under the other and goes back into the middle of the planet and melts away, and then comes back up and is reborn. Okay. And it's constantly, everything on this planet, if we all die tomorrow, everyone on this planet dies, it's going to take everything back. And one day someone else will come to this planet, and there'll be nothing of us left, because it will, over millions and millions of years, it will slowly have eaten all the homes and houses and buildings and planes and boats, and whatever else was left by man will be gone. It will rot away and become part of the earth. So, and I really do believe that, because I believe the earth will keep going on long after we're gone, if that's what's supposed to happen, because it's a living planet, and we can see that every day, every spring when the new trees grow and life is rejuvenated. I just believe in that stuff. So I just think,
Well, you bring up a lot of really good points about, extraterrestrial stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that the two longest, out here, the longest saying the stuff nobody wanted to talk about are Stefan Birds, Stefan Burs, and Ben Davidson, who runs Suspicious Observers. Right? They blow the whistle and stay ahead of what NASA's willing to release, for, lack of a better way to put it. They don't talk about aliens. Now, we're seeing, how big the universe is? It's as far as we can see, because every time that we develop a new technology that can see farther, all of a sudden the universe is bigger, right? We can't even, as human beings, run this planet in a peaceful, normal way. Right. And and then the last thing I would add on this is, we live in a carnival world. If somebody had a alien with a tail and looked like a lizard, that sumbitch would be on every newspaper, magazine, television show. With social media, it would be everywhere right now. Why? Because I want to go viral. Well, it was no different in the 20s and 30s when radio first came out, and people want to go viral. So I saw an alien. I'm like, I don't know. I ate mushrooms before, and, peyotes, and I saw a lot of shit too, right? But, I take mushrooms because of it. Now that I'm older, and not just, I want to try that. Mushrooms actually help with PTSD and other issues like that for guys like me that saw things. And then peyotes, I went to a sweat lodge. I was part of the drug dealing crowd in the Oliver North thing, right? There was people that dealt the drugs, and we would go bust them, take all the money and all the guns and all that shit, and that's how we got the hostages back, right? I got strung out on heroin during that. I went to the sweat lodge in Taos, New Mexico, did peyotes, and I never did that stuff ever again in my life. Like before I went in there, it was like all I could ever think about. After I left, it was like I asked myself, why would you even think about all that shit? Right. So there's a lot in what I just said about how undercover cops get involved in doing crazy stuff. And you know, we have a mob, and we got a media that likes to sensationalize and all this other stuff. But if you listen to Stefan Burns, if you listen to Ben Davidson or the other NASA people who are starting to come out now, we have problems in the extraterrestrial. We do. We're going through a meteor or asteroid belt area, and it's more dangerous now. We're going through the galactic sheet, which changes everything about the Earth. The amount of electricity in the atmosphere, which causes all these emotional problems, and people start acting crazy. Well, if you look historically in the 6 previous civilizations that failed, every one of them had those same things going on as the civilization failed. And as you stated, eventually one of these things is going to come up, and then humans won't be able to survive anymore. It happened to dinosaurs. It happened, to other creatures. Is there not some form of life out in that universe? And I mean this when I say it. If you can look up in that sky, knowing what we know now about how far and how big things are, and you think this is the only life in all of the universe, then you've lost it. Now, can we reach each other? No. Maybe in a spiritual realm, where your energy or you can transcend. But this is what makes God such an awe to me, right? We can't even, run our own household, for Christ's sake. And look up at that universe, and it came from somewhere, and somebody has a grip on all of it.
But look at what's in the ocean. Okay, we still have not even tracked our own ocean, every inch of it, and know what's down there. I mean, it wasn't until not very long ago that we found out that there was creatures that could even exist by these thermal vents, right? And there's tons of life, all kinds of interesting things by these thermal vents. So what I'm saying is that's why when we hear, like they say, it looks this way or that way or whatever, and it's built different than us internally, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's because wherever they come from, they evolved that way. Just like in our own planet, you have Galapagos Islands, right? And look at the difference of just the animals on that one island. They got separated from the rest of the places because of all the water. They either had to fly away very, very far and make it to another place and not drown because of exhaustion and falling into the ocean, or some other swim away or whatever. So to me, it's interesting because a fish that was trapped in a cave underwater, and can't, because of the water, something broke or whatever, and it got trapped. They ended up becoming blind. But we know by now with DNA that it was once related to this other fish, or all these different things, simply because of its environment got changed. And we have scary movies because of it, like people who got trapped in a cave and now they've evolved into these cannibalistic creatures that were breeding and stuff underground, and any real people that go down, other people, they'll eat them. It's just all this weird stuff. But then you had the movie or the TV series V, right, where they were reptilian and they wore coatings over them or whatever to make them look human so that they could get more humans because they're going to use us as food, basically. So I just think all of it's interesting because our imagination can make anything happen. You know,
That's right.
Like me as a young girl watching reruns of Star Trek with my dad, I couldn't wait to one day maybe be able to join a federation when we had starships and things like that, to be able to go on a holodeck and be anywhere you can imagine, you know, all around you, and be able to be enveloped in whatever you wanted it to be, like a floral planet, you know, underwater, you know, type thing, anything. And because your imagination's the limit. And then having a machine that can make any food you could ever want from any planet, you know. I used to go to Vegas every year and get, you know, dressed up in different costumes like this and go and spend 6 to 8 hours at the Star Trek experience. And then I would eat dinner at Quirk's Bar, you know. I was just, because it was fun and I loved it, and I used my imagination, and I just love that. And I wish more people would open their mind and try to live the little bit of life that we have. Okay, like me, I might have 30 years left of my life. That might be all I have. I don't know when my end's going to come, but I hope that I at least get 30 more years. That would be great. You know, I'm trying to take care of myself and eat right, you know, and be a good person. But, you know, I might get hit by a bus tomorrow. You know, I have no say in
If you
that.
get hit by a bus where you live, I will not believe it.
Well, if I go to town, I might. You know, I just am saying, you don't know. But earthquakes, tornadoes, you have everything. But we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. But if we don't try to make today the best that we can for ourselves and for others around us, you know, why are we here? You know, what are we here for? What is our the one thing that we're being put here to do? You know, that type of thing. So I don't know. I just think it's very interesting, and all the people on this planet all looking around, exploring, you know, because we're all explorers. From the day that we first start to crawl and do things on our own, we look back at our parents and we know that they're there and we feel that security, but we're still going away from them by looking and grabbing things and picking things up and looking at them. And then we get to a point in our life to where we don't look around anymore. We just look at a phone or a TV, and we don't experience life anymore. We kind of just live it, you know. And that's the sad truth that I see, is because I want to learn something new every day. I want to meet new people. I want to see new things. I want to find out more about our universes, our deep oceans, different animals that we have, all the wonderful things that we have on this planet. But yet we'll sit and do nothing, you know, all day, just watch reruns on TV, eat and sleep, you know, when we could be doing something, reading stories, watching a movie, going for a walk, you know, with someone that you care about, sharing your experiences of different things that you've had, because that's how we live on when we're gone, is through other people, the memories of us in them, that type of thing. And that's how I look at it. That's why I want to meet as many millions of people I can in my lifetime, because that little tiny bit of me that's in them from my memory, you know, that a good experience of laughter or whatever it is, I will live on in it. And that's how I look at it. And look at, you know, all the people that are in history books or movies, documentaries and things, that's how they live on, because of our experience of watching them perform music or poetry, or an actor on a stage. And we remember it for as long as we live, right? And then, or who we tell it, the story to someone else, and maybe they'll share it with another person. That's why history is so important. And if we don't document all this stuff, it's going to be lost. And I wish we could just get to the truth, no matter whether it's good or bad. I want to know, you know, I would like to know the truth. So that's why we have to keep doing what we're doing, is just sharing as much as we can and trying to help others share information. And one day we're all going to have ta-da, facts. Hopefully, we'll see. But let me pull up this next one. I think it's this one. Oh no, that's not it. Okay, here it is.
Life is short and it's a small world. Those are two of the biggest lessons I've learned in life. I was playing the piano in a bar in Germany one time, and the manager of the place walks up to me and asked me if I'm related, and then he gave me my father's name.
Yeah.
I was 8,000 miles from home, and he wasn't even there. Right? It is a small, 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 small world. And life is way too short to go through any day without living to the fullest. It's just too short.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I'm saying try to enjoy every day that you can, because just be thankful for every day that you have, And like that song I was listening to when you first joined me, before we went live, about that song about, until you can't.
That's right.
Because tomorrow you may not be able to call your mother ever again. I mean, I've lost both my parents. I can't call either one of them on the phone. So,
yeah, me too. That's a hard time when you.
It breaks my heart when I hear people saying, "Oh, my mother never shuts up. I wish she calls me all the time, and she does this, she does that." And I'm like, "Well, I wish I could just hold my mom's hand,"
Yeah.
So it makes them feel like shit, but it just hurts my feelings, because I really wish I could call my mom, talk to her, but I can't. But that's just the way it is. I wish more people would sit back and look at the wonderful things they have available to them in their lives.
You can talk to her just as much as you can see an alien spacecraft.
No,
I mean, it's all, like I said, it's all perception. It's all in your head. If you don't think, like you said, we live on in the people we leave behind, and your mother lives in you, through you, just like what you just shared.
I know, but holding her hand or giving her a hug.
Well, yeah, not the physical realm, but then
I miss the most, the physical.
Yeah.
But let me play this. Lauren Boebert, she's talking about portals. So I want to share this with you. It's really interesting.
And in today's world, that's really something. But even in these, even in some of the documentations that I'm seeing, there's a lot to do with even portals. And I'm interested in more information of that coming out as well. But even to be in a congressional hearing and have enough information to ask the question, is there breeding between these biological beings and humans? There's a there that needs to be answered. And I got a lot of heat from local papers at home and some folks, but we're just asking the questions. If someone is going to come to congressional offices and say that they have seen it, that they have been a part of it, and are read into these programs, then it's worth an investigation. And all of these agencies, even the contractors, when they are too big to answer to government, when they were too big to answer to Congress, the entity that created them and gives them funding, then it's clear that they're too big. And we have got to rein that in and have more accountability.
What you started out with saying, that you had heard somebody saying that they believed in the government, or they believed in the alien program or disclosure before the government started talking about it.
Very scary when she was talking about, I've heard 5 or 6 now so far in government saying breeding with humans, that kind of thing. That bothers me. Not because they're not saying they're having a sexual or a romantic relationship or any of that. They're saying interbreeding. So does that mean that somebody is using these specimens in the laboratory to cross breed humans with whatever it is that they're saying is life? It could be as far as we know, honestly, it could be just germs. It could be because a germ is a living creature, or a thing. It's a living thing, right? It's life of
Yeah,
some.
it's an organism.
It's an organism. But the thing is, there's been lots of weird movies, that people say, well, Hollywood and the government are really intertwined or whatever. But it's not just that. Books and songs, poetry, anything that has to do with a person putting something down on paper and other people reading it. It was a process that went through someone's brain and they put it down on paper. And then someone else read it and did something more with it, like making a movie or a play or whatever. But the thing is, where did they come up with the idea of it? Did they have a dream that, something, they saw something as a child that made them think about it? I don't know. But that's the part that's interesting to me. And the fact that we have, I saw a documentary not very long ago, and it was a guy in his backyard, and he had a shed, a He-Man cave, or whatever you want to call it, and he had all kinds of test tubes and really weird, scientific stuff in there, and he was saying he ordered all this stuff online, and that he had taken his own dog cells for their dogs. He had 2 female, like pit bull type dogs, and a male. And what he was doing is he was breeding them, and they would have puppies. But what he was doing was trying to take DNA or some kind of cells from one of those squid things or octopus that glows, in a luminescent light down deep in the ocean where there's no sun or anything. And he was taking bioluminescence. That's what it was. He was taking that from that creature, and he was trying to put it into the cells of his dogs, so the puppies would glow.
Man, do you remember when COVID first came out and some people were going to the doctor and their face was glowing under their skin? That's because they put a bioluminescent organism from the ocean into the genetic tree that they made the vaccine and the virus out of. I mean, I've seen that document, and it's like real live NIH document. That shit's real as hell.
Yeah,
They
but
use
that's what
some
I'm saying.
green. It's some kind of green mold that glows on the beach sometime. And it's red tide. Once it turns red, it's poisonous. But when it's green, it's just bioluminescent and nothing's wrong with it. And they use that bioluminescence. It's not hitting me why they used it. It had something to do with tracking it. But that showed up in people. That showed up in people in doctors' offices. And on that note, I mean, who didn't love the X-Files? If you go back and watch the X-Files from the very first show all the way until the end, and then think about what we've been going through the last 10 years, and they revealed a lot of what we were going to go through back in the 90s when that show was on. Yeah, so, did they know? Did they know, or were they, there was a Dr. Frankenstein.
I think that some people, like we've seen whistleblowers, through our, my whole lifetime, there's been somebody that's popped up and said they escaped a cult, a Jim Jones town or whatever, and what they were doing there. And then finally they sent someone there. Okay. And that's when they ended up killing everyone. They did the mass Kool-Aid thing, when that senator came or something like that. So sometimes it's good to release information and to do research or whatever, but then other times it isn't. Like, what was the name of that? There was a mountain town or something, and they were hiding out, like Waco, and then there's another one. There's different little cults groups or whatever that do that. There was one in Arkansas, I remember, that they believed that the end was coming, and they lived in a house, and they didn't come out. They had kids and everything, and finally I think they ended up breaking it up because they weren't letting the kids go to school and some other stuff like that. So I don't really know how they deal with these different things. But then you had the other one that believed that they were going to ride a comet. You know, remember that? So
Yeah.
you have a lot of Ruby Ridge. Yeah, that was one of them. But you have a lot of these groups that do these things. And the scary thing with that is that they say they're all adults, right? But when you have kids involved in it, like you had in Georgetown, when they were feeding that stuff, the cyanide, to these children, and they're all dying, they're foaming at the mouth and dying. And then the leaders were holding guns to people, making them drink it themselves and stuff after they saw other people dying from it. It's sad because there's so many people out there that are easily manipulated. Once they're in the group, they can't get out of it. See what I mean? They're trapped there, and their kids or whoever they took with them because they wanted to believe in something so bad. And to me, that's one reason why I think I like to do this kind of stuff, is because just because I say it or you say it or we see it on the news doesn't mean it's factual, right? The best thing for you to do is to take the information, take some notes, and start looking into it yourself.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
what I try to tell people all the time. That's why I like to share the links. That's why I try to show you who's saying it. So if just because Tucker says it, does it mean it's a fact? No. You know, even if it doesn't matter who says it, doesn't mean it's factual unless it has evidence to back it up. And it's not that hard today, in today's time, to look things up and find things. And then just like I said, the sad truth is that you could have this much evidence, okay, to prove that it's truth, right? Then you could have another side over there that has this much evidence, but yet they want to believe this much, then they want to believe that much because this side is more exciting and more interesting. See? So you're not going to please everyone. It's impossible. So we can just do what we can, and that's it. But what's interesting is this whole thing, like she said, they didn't say that these whatever creatures are running around, or people or aliens or whatever, having romantic relationships with people, right? Like what you hear with the archangels. They call them, I don't know what that word is. They call them something. They have a weird name that they call Nephilim or something like that. Were the angels that tried to come down and breed with human women or whatever, right? So a lot of people think they were aliens. So I don't know. Nephilim. That's it. Thank you, Hardwick. I appreciate it. It's just interesting the way she said that. She was very specific about how she said it. And that's what's scary to me. She's not talking about a relationship where two people willingly come together and procreate. So breeding is a totally different thing. It's like you take my dog to your house and we have our dogs breed. Yeah, they want to get together, but when you're holding a female and the other ones are doing whatever, to me, that's not the same thing as or taking her eggs out and putting them in a test tube with the sperm, things like that. That's breeding. That's not the same thing. That's what's scary. And when we have people like, I don't remember, is it Bill Gates or who is it? The one that was, it's right now on the Epstein files or whatever, that supposedly was going there and doing experiments and stuff.
Yeah, Gates is into all that stuff.
Gates, that's the one. I mean, just to think that person might be involved in this kind of stuff, it's kind of scary to think about. What they might have and what they might be doing. Just think about it. If you got a bunch of babies made in test tubes, right, and they did all this genetic alterations and things like that on their own, with mouse DNA, or made them glow in the dark and stuff to make their own X-Men, whatever you want to call it, right? And then they just say, oh, this is from interbreeding with aliens. There you go. It's taken care of now. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's off their plate. They can have something to blame it on. It's not them doing it themselves. you know, they get the people to fall for it because they think that they have relationships with a bunch of aliens. So I don't know that, it's just, to me, it's just little things like that that really bother me, that it's, and so many people are, look at all the people, the 900 people that went to Jonestown willingly. They all flew there and wanted to live in a commune and cook and take care of each other and all that. And they were duped because they wanted to believe so badly that this was paradise, basically. And they had a crazy person and crazy followers controlling the people, basically, and made them all kill themselves. It was a mass suicide, but most of them were killed. They didn't commit suicide. They were poisoned against their will, once they did the investigations. And that's what's scary to me, that we get enough people to believe that, hey, come do this and you can have an alien baby and help prolong the human race by interbreeding or whatever. I don't know, some psycho stuff that they're going to come up with. And it's scary to think about, especially when you have a lot of vulnerable people that are willing to, to do it because they think that they're doing the right thing, or that they have no choice. Just like how many people, just will come out and put their hand out and be ready to take the medicine, whatever it is that they're going to give them. So I don't know. It's just really scary and creepy. Some of the way they say this stuff. It's not exactly what they say. It's the way they say it, the way she worded it. That's what scary to me. I don't know if you noticed anything from that conversation or not, but it made me think about it when I first heard it. And I was like, breeding does not sound normal. But here's another one that I found I thought was interesting. I love the fact that Waters does these, because I was watching it way before I ever even thought about all this kind of stuff would be coming out. So I leaned towards a little more of these people because he's just being a news person. He's putting the news out and he's trying to make it as exciting as he can, but he was doing the news before, right? And now he's talking about this, something that we never thought we'd ever be listening to on the news, about aliens or them releasing certain files or whatever. So here's another one with a little bit of the same stuff in it, but a little more added to it. So it's just interesting, all these different interviews that they're doing.
Do you think the president's a believer? This weekend, he posted an image of himself walking down the tarmac with an alien.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Look, I think he's learned the reality of the situation, that we're not alone in the universe. And, I think this disclosure process is happening because he's put it in motion. I know I just heard today from friends on the House Committee to Declassify Federal Secrets that there will be another 40 or so UAP videos classified in the next 30 days. On top of that, key members of the cabinet are aggressively trying to find the most meaningful evidence within the federal agencies and branches of the military, so they can then decide what of that evidence can safely be declassified. And this is going to be a rolling process. It's going to be a.
Do you think the president's a believer?
Yeah. Did you hear what he said at the very end there? What could be safely declassified? If there is no such thing as aliens, and there's no such thing as other planets with life on them, or nobody's ever crashed here, or any of these things, why would anything not be safely released, Chris?
Because some of the UFOs, we made them for weapons of war, and we don't want people to recognize them and know what they are. So if somebody filmed one of those things, they're not going to talk about it. They'll just let everybody keep speculating. That's bottom line.
So what is it then when you hear so many more of these people are talking about these breeding programs, and that they're having supposed humans breeding with these 4, remember they said 4, they've said that a couple of times in different interviews, 4 different species a
Well,
reptilian
people are
one.
just gullible, Janet. They told us the vaccine was safe and effective. Millions and millions and millions of people just got on that boat. And what happened to them was no less than what happened at Jamestown.
Yeah.
Jonestown. Jonestown. It's not, it was the same thing. Hey, take this poison. It's not going to hurt you. Now that this is our government was on TV at the White House in the Situation Room and putting Tony Fauci up there on TV. He was lying to us the whole time. People jumped right in there and bought that shit. No different than an alien story. People believe what they want to believe, right? You're not going to convince somebody of something they're sure isn't real. You're not going to do it. But if somebody in the back of their mind's going, I think those might be real. The first time somebody says, I've got proof this is real, they're jumping in the boat, right? And the problem that went down with the vaccine was we didn't have any proof. They tested them on the beagles. 100 beagles died, safe and
Now,
effective,
honestly,
as
though,
long as you're not a beagle.
think
If
about that. If you as a person, just a regular person, before you were going to get the vaccine, let's say you hadn't taken it yet, but you found out that they did all these vaccines on all these lab dogs, and all of them died. Every single one died from the shots. Would you still taken it?
I wouldn't have taken it no matter what.
Yeah. See, but what I'm trying to say is, that's where the crime to me is going to be proven in court, because any person that is go to a restaurant and you're going to give them something to eat, right? You got something you've ordered off the menu, and you looked at the whole menu and you said, this is what I want to eat. And nowhere on there did it say disclosure has wheat in it, or it has gluten in it, or it has milk products or nuts. Doesn't say anything on there about the
Or
ingredients.
paint thinner or paint or
So
recycled
you
oil.
eat
Yeah,
it.
there's all kind of shit they give
If you
us.
order it and you buy it and you bring it to your plate and they bring stuff to you, you eat it, and then all of a sudden you start having an adverse reaction because it has peanut oil in it, even though it's not on there anywhere that says it was in there. You can sue them because they didn't disclose that this was in that, and they're supposed to, because that's why we have those certain laws up there. So people like me that can't eat gluten, or not supposed to eat it, know that there's gluten in there. And if I'm taking a risk, if I eat it, then I'm going to be itchy tomorrow, everywhere, because I ate gluten. But someone else could die from it. See? But they're allowed to inject millions of people with something and not even tell them what's in it. See, that's why I know that when this finally does get to go to court, that people are going to win, because they didn't disclose anything. And the only reason I didn't get it personally is because my allergy doctor said, I don't think you should get the shot. I don't think any of my patients should. Because if I just jab all my patients with this stuff when I have no idea what's in it, I might not have any patients next week, which is common sense to think about it, because he doesn't know what's in it. And he showed the sheet and there was nothing on there, just a whole bunch of words at the very top about the name of it, who made it, and stuff like that, and that's it, right? So that's his livelihood, is us. And I have to have an EpiPen, because if I get stung by a bee, I could die, and I carry it with me, because I know that I got stung one time before and it was really, really bad. And he said, if you ever get stung again, you're probably going to die if you don't have an EpiPen. So that's what I don't understand. You can go to prison if you willingly feed someone something, that they have a peanut allergy or whatever, but you give it to them anyways. Okay. Because what's in that cupcake or cookie or whatever, but they don't. Okay, that's illegal. But if I willingly give somebody an injection when I know there's stuff in it that if I told them it was in it, they wouldn't take it, how can that be legal? See, that's common sense. You just sit there and just think about what I just said. That's all you need in court to prove that they should be punished, because they knew what was in it, but they gave it to you anyways. That's all we need. And a jury would say guilty. It's that simple. And
yeah, well, I just want to see one of these lizard aliens with a tail, or a 9-foot Nordic,
you mean
or
a slee stack, or
a
whatever, a
gray. I want to see one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't. You can talk about it till just like, oh, the vaccine's safe. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Said, well, there's aliens. Okay, I want to see one. Just show me one.
We'll see something. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If it's being disclosed, but when he said we have to make sure it's safe to be exposed, what is there in there that could be possibly be not safe to expose everyone to it, to tell us the truth about it? See, that's where I don't know. I'm having a little trouble with that part of it. And the fact that they were saying the breeding stuff and things like that. There's little words in all of these interviews that are kind of like really got me really thinking about it. So, but here's another gentleman, Dr. Stephen Greer. We have alive aliens in underground facilities. So here we go. Let's listen to this gentleman's point of view.
For them, and then of course, as usual, torture them and interrogate them. But and there are a number of them still living. That's one of the directives when I put together the recommendations and executive order recommendations for the president, was that they have a team go in and liberate those guys, the non-human beings that are in there. They're still living. And so I think that
Hold on one second. Let me just interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a living ET in a government facility somewhere?
No, you see, this is the mistake everyone makes. What government? Which government?
Well, somewhere. You're saying that someone has a living ET in a cage somewhere. That's what you're saying.
Right? A number of them, yes.
Okay.
More than one. Because when they down these craft, sometimes they crash to smithereens, but sometimes they have a sort of a hard to soft landing and they capture the ET beings. So the operators, the Delta Force guys and the contractors who are at some of these sites have told me that they have those in their custody, but they're in underground facilities, which is horrible. But
okay, so what do these ETs eat? How do you sustain their life?
I have no idea. I'm sure they figure that out and, they go on. I mean, that's not something I have information on that's credible. I've heard various rumors, but, I wouldn't hang my hat on anything I've heard, but I would have my hang on the fact that we have downed at least 1,000 to 2,000 ET craft. Many of them have had living creatures on them. And I'm talking about over the decades. And those craft have been reverse engineered, and the genetics of those ETs, living and dead, have been used to create knockoff fake ETs that have been used in psychological warfare operations such as abductions and mutilations. And
see, there is another thing where he's saying that they've already used some of these things to create other beings. So who'd they use it with? Is that movie with Drew Barrymore, Firestarter? Is that like not a screenplay? It's like a documentary. You see what I mean? What do you think?
I mean, all he said was hearsay. You can't, if he went in a court of law and he tried to make that evidence, the judge would say, okay, some guys told you that. Give me those guys' names. I want to talk to them. Right? Hearsay doesn't apply. He basically said, yeah, well, we got all this. Where is it? Well, I don't know. I heard about it. I'm like, damn,
But that's what I'm saying. If it's you have evidence and you go to court with it, okay, and you can testify with it, okay, which is what they're saying they're doing with the Congress stuff, right? Luna, wasn't it her earlier that was talking about the portals and stuff and the interbreeding? Isn't she in Congress?
Man, look at that. I like Emperor 1G. That's right on time, dog.
I know I wanted to share it with you. But the thing is, you've got people that are supposedly going before Congress. Do they go before Congress without any evidence? I mean,
Oh, Jesus Christ. I've been watching people lying in Congress for the whole month of June, and it's going into July. People literally going into Congress and lying to Congress. And there's, you know, they can say, well, I thought there was, you know.
But see,
No.
when I watched,
Show me the truth. Show me the facts.
Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, okay, they were testifying when they were asking them all these questions about the Epstein Island things, right? And then I was watching them hand him photographs, and you could see some of them by the way he was holding them up and stuff, and he was flipping through the files, and he had a lawyer on each side of him, and he had one, and it showed him in a hot tub with a couple of young girls, you know, in that, and he was smiling, he had a great big smile on his face. You could just see the joy on his face. Okay. So his response to the pictures and the stuff they were asking him questions about was damning in itself. He didn't even have to speak. And then when the lawyer took it from him and she started closing it, he grabbed it out of her hand and was flipping back so he could stare at and oogle at the pictures. That made him look like a disgusting pig to me. And he didn't even speak about it. So, you know, actions speak louder than words. I say that a lot because it's true. You can't take that out of a jury's eyes. You see what I mean? The judge will say redact that or whatever, or disregard.
Strike that from the record.
Yeah.
They say strike it from the record.
I'm telling you, a juror that sees the reaction of the person when they're looking and reminiscing over a photo, that's in there. That's engraved. You can't take that out. And any person that watched that live or even watched it when it wasn't live, all had the same reaction about disgust when they saw the way he looked at that. So I can't wait to find out what happens with that, with all the stuff with that whole thing of them, you know, in Congress. And then Hillary was real good about not answering stuff. And when she did answer, I don't recall, you know, that type of stuff. And then there was another woman that was testifying, and every single answer was, I plead the fifth. So I think you were on there. You were on the show with me when we talked about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, that's guilty, you know, just as common sense. It's just, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. Plausible deniability is the built-in escape hatch for what this last video, this guy said, well, I didn't say I saw it. Someone else told me they saw it, right?
Yes, but the thing is, he says in one sentence, this is what's funny and why I don't hold this guy very reliable at all. In one sentence, he's talking about, well, I presented this to the president.
Right.
Okay? That doesn't mean it was the president of the United States. He just said the president. Could have been the president of his book club. I mean, for all we know. Right. So specific ways that they say things and how they say it and how it's presented and specific words that they use. That's what is interesting about watching these, because I watch those alien files a lot, you know, with the guy with the wild hair.
Yeah, he's that guy.
I just think he's great. He's funny. He's entertaining, but that doesn't mean I go to bed thinking, "Oh my God, it's so real." You know, I can't wait to shake hands with an alien or whatever. I've never, you know, feel that way. But the whole thing, my conspiracy mind starts working about the whole thing about using. Let's say they have iguana or some other lizard type creature that's from the ocean, it's DNA, and they use CRISPR-9 or a few other little things that we know are real, right? And all of a sudden some babies are born and they have lizard-like skin or a lizard tongue or who knows what other, you know, or maybe they grow wings and can fly and then they can make a silk sweater. You know, I have no idea. We don't know what these people are capable of because they've been doing it for so long and they're hiding it. You know, they hide a lot of stuff. And see, I sound like a conspiracy theorist when I say these things, but this is actual stuff that I've seen with my own eyes. And so have you. about what they were using to make certain things and to use it on people, right?
Yeah,
Not
well, I
on
mean, there's no
themselves.
arguing that. I
Okay.
mean, I have seen in medical books when I was studying medicine
Yeah.
pictures of genetic anomalies that you could say, well, that's alien. People with tails, people with like extra nipples,
Mm-hmm.
people with, different stuff, just different stuff. They used to parade them in circuses,
Mm-hmm.
the
I
bearded
know.
lady and all that. Our let's talk about this. What makes up race? People say, oh, racism, black skin, white skin, all that. 1% of all of the 100% of the DNA tree is for those kind of things. The actual race part of it, for your hair color and your skin color and all that, is 1/10 of that 1%. But you got people that are willing to destroy the country, fight global wars, and all of this other shit over 1/10 of 1% of our human DNA. And if that's it, it doesn't take much of an anomaly for somebody to be born a freak. I mean, when I see a 5-year-old kid playing a concerto on violin, or an 8-year-old playing concert piano, or a 3-year-old that can speak multiple languages, or a 10-year-old that can invent some insane computer technology thing, that's not an alien. It's alien to us because it's not normal like people. But they didn't come down here on a spacecraft. They had a vision and they saw something, and they, like you stated earlier, there's nothing that I love more than a really well thought out movie. I took a art critic class in college. Should have never done it. I've never been able to enjoy movies ever since. I look for microphones in the corner, or somebody that shoots a 11 clip pistol and they shoot it the gun 300 times without changing the clip. I mean, I see all of that stuff. When you see a really well thought out movie put together and you can't find anything wrong in it, that goes to that X-Files stuff. What was that guy's name? Chris Isaac, or I can't remember his last name. The dude that was behind the X-Files. There are things in the X-Files that they've just released. He had access to that somehow. Just like John Gresham, he writes his books and he talks about all this stuff, and I'm like, hey, that really happened. I know I was there, but okay, but they use a different city name. They use a different, they just change just enough of it so it isn't true.
Yeah.
But it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And a lot of those military books, the crime novels, all that stuff, that all plays in. I think that we got to worry more about WEF and WHO and all of these other things. Those are what we should be afraid of. The actual human beings who are here that, like Klaus Schwab said at Davos a couple of years ago, soon everybody will be eating bugs and they will enjoy it. I'm like, now if there was an alien, that would be him right there.
Well, the thing is, through the centuries, there has been really terrible people that do terrible things. We've had serial killers for whatever reason, that something's wrong with this person that makes them want to, hunt women and chop their limbs off, or, all these sick things these perverted things that these people do. And we've learned more and more about forensics, that science to be able to solve murders and other crimes by using different skills like fingerprinting, and now we have DNA. But you also have to have the mind to be able to put together what we think the process was for this person who became a serial killer or whatever, or a criminal of some sort. But what's scary is that it's a shame that we have to take normal people that would never think of doing those things and train them to think like a killer. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's all of that stuff is, I know I couldn't do it. I couldn't be a doctor. I don't think I could be a nurse or any of those things, because I don't think I could see that kind of stuff on a daily basis and have it not affect me in some way. So you have to have the right kind of personality, you know, to be a police officer or a fireman or a doctor or a surgeon. Just think about it, a gynecologist. You know what I mean? All these different positions that are important, but some people could not do it, you know, and see that on a daily basis and be able to just function like a normal person, you know, because, you know, to me, I just wouldn't be able to do it. I know I couldn't. And I'm sure I get on people's nerves. So I'm just saying, everyone's different and all of us aren't meant to do the same thing. And that's what makes it so interesting. It's just that it's hard for us to sit down at a table and have conversations to get things done, because we have a hard time listening to each other or understanding where the other one's coming from, because we have different ways of going about doing things. So it just really, it makes it very frustrating, because you can't get the other person. Like you say, God, I just don't know how else to get them to understand it. And the best thing I always say is just give it to them, write it down and give it to them. And then ask them to write back a response to what you wrote them. And sometimes that works really well, because then you can read it and say, okay, well, this makes sense. And when you're trying to tell them, it's not coming out anywhere near what it would look like if you read it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that happens a lot. But this is another thing that was interesting. It says a former Pentagon UFO investigator says material not of human origin has been recovered. So I'm going to share this one let me get this really quick, because I'm going to share this one in chat, because I think it's really, really interesting, the amount of stuff that's involved in these things. But here we go. I'm going to make this a little bigger.
We are in possession of these crafts. What are we doing with them?
Yeah, Jesse, thanks for having me. I did testify in 2024 in November, for the record and under oath, that our government is in possession of material, exotic material that is not ours and possibly originates from somewhere else. And then I was also followed by other folks as well in later testimony who have discussed non-biological remains that were biological remains, non-human biological remains that were retrieved from some of these crashes.
So when you, I guess, were speaking to these people that talked about non-human biological remains, what did they describe?
Well, Jesse, to be honest with you, when I was at the Pentagon and I was part of the Pentagon's UFO investigation team called ATIP, I was more of a nuts and bolts guy. We did have experts, scientists, and medical doctors that were looking into the biologic aspects. And by the way, this goes way back, way before my time even. We're talking literally the late 1940s. And if you look at this latest document drop and video drop that this administration has authorized for release, there is an absolute treasure trove of information contained in this second tranche of information.
Well, what do you think? What stands out to you?
Oh my gosh, Jesse, how much time do you have? I mean, we could be here all day. The reality is that this is a topic that our government has been taking very seriously for a very long time, would go to extreme lengths to try to cover it up. And this administration means business. This administration is the first administration in my memory that's actually delivering on a promise to be more transparent and open with the American public about this topic. Look, this document, this last document tranche that was released, you had documents going back to to the late 1940s, demonstrating very clearly that the UAP, or what was known in the vernacular, the UFO phenomenon, is very real, and it is certainly a national security issue. These things have been encountered over controlled U.S. airspace, and frankly can outmaneuver anything that we had and still have in our inventory.
But did you hear some of the things that he said, basically, and the way he said it? Do you think that he wouldn't even be able to say what he said to him in court?
Yeah,
because he didn't really give him any answers.
Let me tell you about never, man didn't create it, whatever. I have a real live story for that. I drove and like worked for a man who was like NASA hierarchy, him and his wife both.
Yeah.
And he told me that he was at dinner with his dad, and this goes back to like late 40s, 1940s. And his dad pulled a little notebook out of his pocket and he wrote something on it and he put it back in his pocket. So the next night at dinner, it came up. Well, did it work? He was trying to come up with heat shields so that things wouldn't burn up when they came back into the atmosphere. His response was no, but we named it ethylene glycol. Now, ethylene glycol is in every single product you buy. Antifreeze, window cleaner, all solvents, whatever. This man, I mean, basically was one of the richest, son of one of the richest people in the world, right? The inventor of ethylene glycol. Was he trying to invent ethylene glycol? No, he wasn't. He was trying to come up with heat shields. So now they don't go around and every time that they come up with some weird shit, sometimes it blows up and kills the scientists if they mix the wrong stuff, right? Those things don't always work out well. We got new particles being identified still to this day. So to say something like this was never, if it exists, then it already existed. We're just now finding it. It's just like dinosaurs. Oh, yeah, dinosaurs. Well, we find them all the time. There's more people digging in the ground now than ever before. More people going over historical monuments and sites and all of this. And everything that happens from that is they go, wow, we always called that a myth. It turns out it was true. So we're up against all of those things, Janet, that didn't exist, did exist. Well, it exists right now. So apparently in the universe, that's something that exists. Whether or not we figured out how to do it, every planet is different. There's so much sulfur on Mars that, you know, if there is an outpost in Mars one day, it'll be a wretched existence. There's dust on the moon that if it gets in your lungs, it would kill you instantly, right? The other worlds are not like our world. Now, we found other worlds in recent times with the web and, you know, the new advanced telescopes. We found planets that could be inhabited by human beings. Well, maybe if we went to one of those, there would be a lizard sort of looking people with tails on them, depending on how they, like you said, get locked into a cave, or Galapagos where genetic mutations and all those things occur that make things not normal. And that's what my point about if we went to Alpha Centauri, the amount of time it would take. Can you imagine? Everyone was mad when China said only have one kid. All right, we've inhabited the world 6 times from 6 lost civilizations, and it only takes a short amount of time. Once you get to a certain area, then it goes from 1 billion to 3 billion to 7 billion, you know, and every time it gets up in those numbers, then it all collapses again. It's like a survival thing that goes with, you know, how much humanity is capable of doing. Now, on some of these other oxygen, nitrogen rich planets, who knows what the people up there look like? Is it going to affect us at the end of the day? Is that going to be the reason we do or don't take a vaccine, or we do or don't believe? You know, MK Ultra was terrible, and they did a lot of real fucked up experiments in there. But MK Ultra also identified super genius people and people who could predict things and be 100% right, or people who could read minds and all these other things. There are so many gifts out here, and so many people carry these gifts. They never exercise them, so nothing ever happens with them. But all of these things are available traits that human beings can and do possess, and people don't want to talk about those. It's like, oh, you can't predict the future. I got to tell you, I'm pretty sure the future can be predicted. And mostly based on the fact that everything is in cycles and goes around, like what I was just saying about civilizations rising and falling and man outgrowing humanity, outgrowing itself, you know, and these things go in cycles. If you learn the cycles of the past, which you brought up in this, that the history repeats itself. So if you can look at it and say, oh, well, last time this built up to this was the result. Maybe you can't predict exact things, exact situations, but you can see a general outcome on the way, and that's a gift. But people don't exercise that gift. So I think that one of the biggest things for happiness in life is to really get to know who you are on the inside, no outside influence, no this, no that. If you want to be the president, you should try to be the president. If you want to be a brain surgeon, that's what you should do. You should never count out what your dreams are, because that's the spiritual realm telling you what to do. And most people don't listen to that. Are you there?
Hold on. Sorry, I had my mic off because I sneezed earlier, so it didn't work. But yeah, I start getting stuffed up every night. You know, I have to take my allergy medicine again. But I wanted to do this one. It says new UFO docs say the Soviets went on a hot pursuit of 23 UFOs flying at 70,000 feet. So this is another thing. This is what I said. He's really good about this stuff.
There's more. We just got our hands on new UFO docs. The Disclosure Foundation's FOIA'd the NSA for 300 new pages. We're still digging through them, but some of this stuff's shocking. According to the docs, back during the Cold War, the Soviets scrambled 13 MiG fighter jets to chase down one UFO. Another time, jets were deployed to hunt down 23 UFOs flying at 70,000 feet. The Russians probably thought we were coming to bomb them. Was it an American spy plane, a balloon, an alien? We don't know. Every time we get more files, we have more questions like, where are the little green men?
Where's the alien?
So that's my question to you.
Is it too much to ask that if you've got him in the back shed, just bring out the alien? Then we would all transition from asking one another, do you believe in aliens, to, well, yeah, of course, the alien's there.
Steven Spielberg's waiting for a call back. He made half his career off aliens.
Yeah.
But they never stopped by.
I've made all these movies where I've kind of played an ambassadorial role. They've never shown themselves to me. Why is that? It's so unfair.
We all grew up watching his movies. Back then, it felt like science fiction, but now, not so much.
When I made Close Encounters, for me, it was a story that I thought, wouldn't it be great when this movie comes out? Wouldn't it be great if people like this movie, they come out and they see Close Encounters? And wouldn't it be great if this someday could all come true?
Congress wants answers too. House Republicans think private contractors know something we don't. One congressman just sent a letter to MIT demanding a classified video called Flying Saucer Talk from the 50s. The first batch of the files dropped a few weeks ago. The Department of War says more are coming soon. Not sure what the holdup is. It's not like Pete's been busy with anything. But we're just scratching the surface. These files have been buried for decades. And the deep state doesn't want them out, but they're coming. And we're hearing they're pretty big.
But I think they're taking it so serious that we're gonna get to more tranches of more meaningful evidence, and I think eventually we'll get to that thing that moment that we've all only seen in movies, where a sitting president steps to a microphone and tells the world we're not alone in the universe.
Yeah, that would be very, very cool to actually have. I love that guy too. I've watched all his shows talking about show it to us, bring it to us so we can see it. I love that because he's right. The fact that if they're going to really release any of these things, start giving us something tangible that we can, touch. I've watched like 25 different documentaries about, Yeti, and Bigfoot and other beings like that. And a couple of them said they had hair. Now, one of them, I remember, they sent the hair off to a laboratory, and when they got back the deal, it said that it was unknown DNA. And they said it was DNA they'd never seen before, but they said it wasn't of anything that they've ever seen. And that was it. I never saw a second part or anything like that of that one. And then another one I watched, this guy had something in a ice chest. He said it was in there for many, many years. And they did testing, and they said it was bear hair. The hair was from a bear. So, it wasn't a Yeti or Bigfoot or whatever. But the unknown DNA, that was interesting. You know what I mean? So, it's just we can get everybody in one room and all do it. See, and that's another thing. I've been trying to watch some of these interviews, and some of the days, to me, it's very interesting because you get to see the facial expressions and things off of the people when they're being asked the questions, and they're talking about the different things that they supposedly have DNA or evidence or whatever, like all this different stuff, and they handing it over. But what's going to happen with all the stuff they're supposedly collecting? Is that going to be all made public? How does that work? You've been to these type of things. What is it? How does it break down? You know what I mean? How does the evidence get out and we get to see it when it goes through that process?
Well, the evidence is already out. So let's talk about the process.
Okay.
Think about how highly regulated pilots are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're flying around with 190 souls.
Yeah.
Right? So you get this totally credible person. They're flying through the air and something unusual appears, whether it's an orb, some weird reflection of the sun going through an atmospheric anomaly up there that people aren't up there all the time, so they don't know what's normal up there, but those things happen. We know they do. Mm-hmm. That person, right, it looks over at the co-pilot, he says, "Do you see what I see?" And then the server staff comes in to ask them if they want some coffee, and they're like, "Oh my God, I don't know what I see." Then that person goes and tells 2 or 3 people on that plane. Now you have a lot of people that want to believe in UFOs, so they're going to go tell, and then one person tells 10, those 10 all tell 10, that's 100 people. Then those 10 tell 10 people, that's 1,000. Then those 10 tell 10. It doesn't take very long to get to where 1 million people heard this UFO story.
Yeah.
Now, you're the president of the United States, you're the most powerful man in the world, or you're the premier in Russia, or you're Xi Jinping, or whoever, and you've got all these security forces. They're like, "Oh my God, there's a report of a UFO. We got to get on it." It's a National Security Administration.
Yeah.
Okay, National Security Agency does all that stuff. Now, they got to go get all the evidence. And the reason we never see the evidence is because it always turns out to be nothing. But those few people who saw what they saw have already talked to everybody. And then the NSA gets the information because they're supposed to either prove it or debunk it like any lawyer does in any case going before anybody. And in this case, the people are the judge, because we've all seen things that we're like, what the hell? Like the Venus and Saturn conjunction that you filmed. I immediately knew what that was the second I saw it and sent you the text immediately, because we had been talking about it on special suspicious observers, and Stefan Burns had literally showed a picture of it that night. And then other astronomical and astrological viewers were talking about it. It only happens once every whatever it is years. You're never going to see but one of those. And many generations will pass that never see it between now and the next time that shows up. So that's why CIA gets it. That's why NSA gets it. They're supposed to debunk or prove these things, but they're not the one who saw it. And so the people who saw it are still telling other people. They haven't been told that's classified. No one says, oh, you saw a UFO? Shut up, that's classified. No one ever said that. Not since the 1960s and 70s. They put you in front of a camera. What did you see? Where did you see it? What happened? Right? There is no, it's not classified. Now, what the NSA finds out about it may be classified, right? When they look into it, say, oh, God, we had those 13 so-and-sos up there, man, doing maneuvers the other night. We didn't realize there was going to be passenger traffic in that area, commercial passenger airlines in the area. We goofed, right? These are the rational answers for all of this. There is no rational answer for how could something survive. The closest inhabitable thing is 4 million years away. At the speed of light. Can you imagine the mutations and inbreeding? Go into rural West Virginia up in the mountains, man, and look at some of those people that are isolated that have interbred for the last 50 years. They ain't like us. They ain't like us.
But see, that's one thing too. I'm waiting to hear from any of these people that say there's 4 species, right? I haven't heard any of them say they've done DNA testing or, any of that stuff. And like that one guy said, they're showing, the guy was saying they bring in people in and letting them see the aliens that they've got and their facility they have them in and stuff like that, but nobody's telling them what they're eating. Nobody's showing them eating. No one has any food for them, all that kind of stuff. And how could they have lived all this time if they didn't eat? I don't know. It's just a lot of holes in their stories. You know what I mean?
That was the whole point of it when they started it. It was a psyop.
Well, the thing is that the fact that our government is releasing documents that our past government has made classified, right? So why? That's the thing I'm still trying to figure out. Isn't so much whether or not I believe in aliens or not, because I'm an alien. But it's the fact that why did they feel they had to classify it? You say it's because they had technology that they didn't want other countries to know we had, so we just made it up so that they would think it was some kind of creature from another planet, right? So if that's true, then that'll come out. Because
remember what I said. Remember what I said in the green room. I mentioned this before we even started the show tonight. I said all of this started right after 1945. And then I explained to you why. Because we didn't even have jet propulsion until World War II. Then after the war was over, we got all these German scientists and Austrian scientists, and they came to America and helped us build the nuclear bomb, and they started jet technology. Okay, now 1945. That's only 15 years older than me.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, somebody 15 years older than me was one of the first people to ever see a jet aircraft. Now they're flying them all over the place and they're testing them and they're doing this and that. Can you imagine the rural yahoos that have a driveway like yours that never even looked up what World War II was? They just knew their third cousin died over there. And then they look up and it's like, oh my God, here comes a jet going 500 miles an hour like that. We've only been dealing with that as a people for 75 years. That's it.
It's not very long, really. If you think
No,
about it.
and then people's minds are going to play tricks on them and do all this other stuff. That's why we have an NSA to look into. That was a UFO. Well, anybody that's rational is just going to go, uh-oh, they got something new in the air that a trained pilot didn't recognize. Okay, that's the rational way you discuss that. Uh-oh, we better look into that. Well, we go over the video and all that. So, well, that was just an orb. That was ball lightning. There are so many things people don't know about going on in the electrical forces of how this planet works and volcanoes and all this other shit. And we're going through something right now. There's no doubt. They're not even arguing about the number of earthquakes right now. But when I used to say something about the patterns of earthquakes changing around 2008, people told me I was out of my mind. You worry about shit you shouldn't worry about. I'm like, well, I don't know. We got about, a couple billion people living right on the coast. And this not just volcanoes, it's tsunamis, it's this, it's that. You can't just leave people vulnerable like that when you see Earth changing. Right? Oh, the Earth is going to dry up. Well, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
I don't know about all that. What I do know is what I see, right? And what you see. And that's why we keep going back to evidence. But every one of these videos that you've showed has proven to you what I said before we started the show, which was none of this existed. And I mean none of it. And then you said something during the show that made me bust out laughing. You know what the number one thing to buy over in Tehran is? Carpets. How you going to sell carpets? Tell people that some of them fly.
Yeah. That makes sense. But
there's games in
common
everything.
sense, though. You'd be one of those people that knows that, well, you can't sell me a flying carpet because there's no such thing. You know what I mean? So
I don't know. Obviously, you can.
only some people are the ones that they would be able to sell it to, because those are the gullible people, or the ones that have taken an assistant. You know what I'm saying? Something to help them sleep or whatever. But this is the last thing I had pulled up because I thought it was a good one to close on. But this is from that same group, the Interstellar group, and I wanted to share that. So here we go. Let me make sure it's turned up. Let me turn this up a little bit because some of them are really low and it's hard to hear. Here we go.
Tell me what you heard about the aliens.
But so one of these interviews I did was an Air Force security guard on a nuclear weapons base, had an encounter where him and his partner saw a UAP over a nuclear weapons site. And then what happened after that was he said that a bright light came from the UAP and hit this vehicle that him and his partner were in. And they basically became like catatonic, like frozen. They couldn't move. And he said out of the corner of his eye, he saw 3 non-human beings approaching the car. And he said he was terrified and his heart started to race. And he thought he was going to have a freaking heart attack. He thought his heart was going to leap out of his chest. And then he just blacked out. And when he woke up, his vehicle was no longer where it was in front of the nuke site. He was now at the bottom of a reservoir that was on the backside of the base that you couldn't physically drive down to. The truck was just there. It had been relocated. And he came to, and his partner was still basically catatonic in shock. Couldn't move. He was gripping the steering wheel, he said. And over the radio, he heard his colleagues looking for him still. and he looked at his watch, and hours had passed. And he called in saying where they were. And, you know, as crazy as it was, he's like, this is where we are. And apparently they came and got them. And then when they brought them back to the base, apparently they were separated. And Air Force Office of Special Investigation and CIA were there and essentially interrogated them both, asked them a million questions. They sent them both to the hospital after. They checked them for radiation damage. They checked their gums and other medical tests you would do if someone was near something that gave off a lot of energy that you knew would cause biological effects, you know? And then they were told never to talk to each other again. And the partner was shipped out to another country very quickly, soon after that.
Whoa.
Yeah. And what's wild about that is I interviewed other people who didn't know, another person who didn't know this guy, and he had a very similar story that went down on a different base in a different decade. And then the aftermath was like almost exactly the same. Him and that guy was in another vehicle. He had a partner. They were separated, told never to talk to each other again. Same Air Force Office of Special Investigation at CIA, asking the questions. And then one of them was shipped to a base in Japan. Personal experiences some of the U.S. government officials had at their homes after investigating this. So one of the wild things I learned was that as people involved in investigating this for the government looked into non-human intelligent life, it seems non-human intelligent life started looking into them. The analogy that they, used to wrap their head around what was happening is they would say, look, if Russia sends a spy to DC to spy on members of our Congress, our intelligence community spies on the Russian spy. Like we look into them because they're looking into us. And so these intelligence officials just sort of like applied that logic to what was happening to them. They started looking into non-human intelligent life and UAP for the government, and all of a sudden they were having activity at their houses, orbs in their homes in front of their wives. Whoa. In some cases, crafts, like straight up UFOs within eyesight of their homes. So talked to several people who worked on nuclear weapons bases who had seen a UAP on the base, like been part of an event that multiple people witnessed with them. And then in the coming days had subsequent events when they were off the base where they encountered UAP and then non-human beings.
They encountered beings at their homes.
Yeah. Or not necessarily those cases, the nuclear weapon stories were actually not homes. It happened in various.
Just not at work.
Yeah, not at work. One story that did happen on a base though.
That was pretty interesting. So what do you think of that? That's the same guy, but see, it's broken up in the little sections. So that's why I was telling people you need to go to Interstellar and watch as many of the little videos as you can, or go to them and watch the whole thing.
I was laughing out loud listening to that, and I'm going to tell you why. I've seen people go through military boards, and that was the dog ate my homework. What the fuck are you boys doing down here? You're supposed to be at so-and-so, right? Dereliction of duty, that's like Fort Leavenworth shit, right? Now, them guys are like, man, let's tell them an alien. They cocked this story, and they get them all together, and they're like, look, they basically said these two fucking guys are crazy. Y'all get the fuck away from each other and don't ever get around each other again. Well, someone caught wind of that story, and they tried it again later down the road. There's probably a clause in the UCMJ that says no alien excuses. Right? Because that's what that sounded like. It sounded like people that were supposed to be in one place and went to somewhere else, and they fucking just said anything they could possibly say to get out of it.
Yeah,
that's exactly what that sounded like reading the boards in somebody's medical record. I swear to God, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah, which could be very well be possible. I heard a few people that said that kind of thing would happen to them, and then they said that what they would do is just try to take. They have like whatever they have, tool wise, when they come to our planet. Supposedly, they have something that tells them everything they need to know about what you have to offer, as a scan through your blood or your skin or whatever, or your any type of organ you might have with the right chromosomes or whatever. So and that's why they were turned down. They were stopped at one moment, and then later on they said, no, these aren't the ones that we need, because there's nothing new in this vehicle. It's the same people. So I don't know, but I just thought it was interesting, and it's fun, to sit and talk about all this.
I mean, it's fun talking about all this, and really because.
And I've been sharing the links in the chat also.
Yeah, people just need a rational outlook and believe what you see. Well, don't so much believe what you see, believe what you experience, might be a better way to say it. With AI now, you can't, God knows what's real and what's not real now.
Yeah.
But any time in life that get the evidence, right? Contempt prior to investigation is a sickening way to be. But it's probably worse to just take everybody's word for everything they say without ever questioning it.
Yeah,
right?
I try never to do that.
Yeah, I think people should always question everything. But I'm not like most people. I realize I'm not like most people. I've been alone and single most of my adult life. I've got kids and I love them and all that. But I like being alone, and I'm always reading, always investigating, always traveling, going where something is happening that I want to experience. Because experiencing something isn't the same as seeing it. It isn't the same as hearing it. It's being there for the thing. And I know people have these things where bright lights hit them on the highway and all this, and they stop and all. But we know about orbs. We know about solar flares. We know about all these things that can affect the atmosphere around us. And if you're ever caught in one of those, it's probably pretty cool. Scary for sure, but it's probably cool. But as far as I just never, I want to see it. Please. I hope they come to my house tonight, knock on the door, and tell me they're going to take me to Alpha Centauri. I'll be like, I'm in. Let me grab my flip flops.
So, you should. I mean, if that ever does happen, you should just say, "Great, let's check it out. Let's see what happens."
I mean, if you show up in your spaceship, I'll get on it. I mean,
Yeah,
now that I
would.
know
I think
who you are when you're not morphed.
Remember, I don't have a spaceship. I travel through like a wormhole.
Well, don't tell me it's a broom handle, because I'll run.
It has to be perfectly aligned for me to be able to travel through it. So that's the only. You can only do it once every 16 months. So. That was my story, but it's fun, and it pays. It's fine. It works for me, works for my character. But thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. It's good now though. See, because I'm only getting like one or two new things out like that, and I'm getting like 25 of the other ones for the shit show. For every one of those. So that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so unbalanced. But if I had something special to talk about, like when they do present an alien, where we can actually talk about it, then the anatomy of it and whatever, what it eats and all that stuff, that would be really cool. I say thank you for you joining me, and thank you to everybody who joined me in the chat on X and on Rumble and on YouTube. I really appreciate all of you, because I'm still shocked that I even have anybody that wants to watch me, but it's still fun. I'd still dress up and go, to a con or whatever. But I hope all of you guys are ready for a really good weekend for the 250 years of America. So, yes, enjoy
God
the
bless America.
Yeah. Do you have any plans?
I bought stuff to cook for whoever the family wants to come over and eat.
Awesome. That's going to be great. It's going to be hot too, I think. Still going to be baking outside.
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. Get up in the morning and it's like, thank God it's Friday. Yeah, everybody gets to do that. So it's going to be fun. But thank you again. And I hope you guys have a wonderful 4th of July. And thank you very much. And God bless America. It's like Chris said. Talk to everyone later.
God